here to encourage, offer small business insight, and connect you to your maker community. Whether you're working in your studio space or out sharing your story at a farmer's market, welcome. We are John and Sarah Collins, and this is the Modern Forestry Podcast.
Hey guys, it is John and Sarah Collins here from Modern Forestry. We have an incredible treat for you today on the podcast. We are going to be talking about the origins of Modern Forestry, our beloved candle company. It is a fantastic story. So I've got Sarah here with me.
Yeah, we get asked a lot, how did you guys start? And we don't have business background at all. And so we just kind of stumbled into this hobby turned small business about 7-8 years ago. I think I took a lot of it for granted. Now we've gone back years later and gone, okay, let's really dissect this. Why did this work when so many small businesses don't? And so we're going to share a little bit of how we started, and then hopefully it's an encouragement to you. Every story is different, but it's always encouraging hearing other people and how they got started and what works for one and what works for another.
Yeah. So first off, the question would be, how did you start a candle company, and why did you start a candle company?
Why is a good question. John went to school for IT. And then went off to seminary, and I had an English writing background, so no candle making, no business, but we were newlyweds, working jobs that we loved. I was getting migraines and couldn't figure out why. And so I kind of gotten used to it, and John was like, this isn't normal, and this isn't acceptable. Like we need to figure out why. So doctors and elimination diets, anyway, couldn't figure it out. And finally our doctor said on a whim, the next step is medication, which I'd rather live with the migraines, I think. But he said on a whim, take your Yankee candle that I'd grown up with, that scent, take it off your kitchen table. Did that. We actually saw soot around the kitchen. The pictures that were there, migraines went away. And so I was getting fragrance-induced migraines from the chemicals. No idea. Super thrilled, but now I can't burn candles. That was really sad. We're newlyweds, we're making home and everything. And so, just started to Google. There has to be a better option. So we poured our first soy candle on our little teeny tiny kitchen stove. It was a 1-room studio. Mm-hmm. Like it was all like
350 square feet. Very small.
3 years we did that.
3 10 by 10 tent canopies.
Yeah. So we poured the candle on the kitchen stove in a Goodwill teacup, and I was like, this is it. I can do this. Ended up giving some to friends for birthdays, was just really excited. And then we had an Etsy shop for a different hobby that made like $50 maybe. I just needed a outlet to de-stress. Loved my job. But it was demanding when you're pouring into it. And so I said, well, let me just throw these candles up on our Modern Forestry woodworking Etsy shop. And I thought, cool. We didn't have a ton of money, but I thought date night money would be awesome. That was our goal. And that's kind of where it started. We got the first orders in from out of state that we didn't know who they were. And I was like, John, we're actually selling candles for date night money. Well, that quickly escalated. And that summer, we actually called up our local farmer's market, said, hey, we know nothing about this. I honestly don't remember having gone to a farmer's market before. Maybe like on vacation in a cutesy town. Went off, got to meet people in our community, and we did the farmer's market that whole first summer together, which was really fun.
Yeah. And so the really cool thing about that is we still have the oven stovetop that you use to make the candles on. We know it is that one because there's wax in between the panes on the front of the oven door, which is really cool.
So side note, that studio that we lived in became the Modern Forestry studio today. So you can actually come and visit us, see the studio store. There's a camera above our shipping table, and that's actually where Peter's crib was. Yeah. So many memories.
So come on over for the shortest house tour that you've ever seen. That's in Powdersville. So if you'd like to visit, we do have studio hours for that.
We do, yep. Yeah. We're open, and it's on our Instagram. But side note, it's no longer 300 square feet. We've added on. It's quite a lot bigger, but that's
progressively eating the building the candle company is.
But the roots are still there. Anyway, So we did the Easley Farmers Market the first summer. Super fun. Mm-hmm. And then John.
Yes. Okay, I want to tell this
Enneagram
story.
7 loves cold calls.
Yes. Okay. That wasn't, yeah. So, so we had a good time. I said, Sarah, let's just go downtown Greenville and see all the small businesses there. and see if any of them would like to partner with us and buy our candles. I mean, why not? Let's just get up and make some baskets up in cellophane. So we want to, and poor girl, people are different. Everybody's got their own personality bends. And I thought that this was going to be a great idea. She was terrified.
He was on his lunch break, like suit and tie from the bank where he was working. I was like bribing myself mentally, like, you can have a coffee if you go visit 4 stores. So we went up and down downtown Greenville talking to store owners. Y'all, we learned so much. Some of those people were so generous in what we didn't know and then helping us learn. Yep. And we just learned by talking to people. Picked up a couple stores that, really helped us get started in the wholesale.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And then fast forward to 2016, you quit your job. You were working as a nanny.
Yep. I was a family assistant. Loved it, but candles was getting to be too big. John would come home from the bank. We would pour candles all through the night. We had boxes of candles in our 1-room apartment. Like there was no work family boundary at all. It was really fun, but it wasn't sustainable. So we kind of came to a crossroads. That Christmas, we kind of put out like Facebook messages like, we'll give you pizza and candles if you come help us ship. Just we didn't have enough hours. And so that New Year's, actually going into that fall, we decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and step back. John still had health insurance at the bank, which for us was one of, if not the biggest things to him eventually quitting his job was our health insurance. So I resigned, and January 1st, 2016, our company was 9 months old and I was full-time. And that first morning I kind of stood there. We had moved into a garage next to our apartment, and I just kind of sat there like, okay, this is going to make some candles.
And at the time, everything was in that garage. That garage was probably 250 to 350 square feet. And
with no heat and no AC.
And it had a garage door that wasn't fully closed.
And the floor was crooked. So we actually had to level the folding table so the candles would dry straight because the floor.
2x4 stuck under the table.
Okay, and up until this point, this is just awesome. We actually had camping burners. Like, we had 12 of them. Yep. You had to watch them because wax would drip or some of the oils, and they would catch on fire.
Yep, they'd catch on
fire.
So
you could get 12 things going, but you really had to be in the room with a fire extinguisher. That Christmas, we took the profits we made and bought one of our first 50-pound wax melters, and that was such a beautiful day. Turn it on, walk away. It's like a giant crock pot. It's great.
Yeah, it is really good. So, and 1 year after that, because we started getting into events. Well, I guess we started getting into events really early on. Easley Farmers Market was the first event, and then at the same time, you were running an event in Atlanta at a garage sale.
We were just doing stuff. So our business model from the very beginning, and it stayed consistently true, it kind of has 3 legs. We have wholesale, retail, and events. And so we just tried to flesh those out. John and I went away for our anniversary. Yeah, first or second year.
Yep.
And I remember looking across at John, and he said, I just can't stay in a cubicle 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like I can't be shaving every week and wear a tie. And I remember looking at him going like, oh, like you love the people at your job, but you are miserable and something is dying inside. And so then we started to figure out, how can John quit his job?
Yeah. So yeah. And it was an interesting setting too, because we were on a cruise, and so we were sitting across from one another. We had a deal on the cruise. It was like a buy one get one free ticket.
It was ridiculous.
We didn't have a lot of money at the time.
We didn't. We were like, but we can do that.
We can have as much
food
as we want.
We flew on points from our business credit. Yep.
And then sitting across from her, I just, in my heart of hearts, welling up was just sadness. I was sad. So I was going to work consistently. I was good at my job. I enjoyed the people there. It just wasn't what I was meant to do. I was meant for the road, and I was meant for doing very difficult things that could fail. So that
John has like the eternal optimism.
I need to have risk in my life to keep moving and to keep building something, and to have.
I think that's a good way to say it. There wasn't any risk in what you were doing.
There was no risk at all. I knew exactly what I was going to make the next month, the next year. I knew exactly what my 401k would look like. I knew exactly what would happen if we had a medical emergency. Everything was safe. which to some people is a great feeling.
Which was nice.
But not to me.
Modern Forestry continued to grow. And we were to the point where it was like, well, we can hire somebody or John can quit his job. Yeah.
And then so I quit my job, and we actually did end up hiring somebody.
John quit his job. We had a 2-month-old. Peter was born. Yeah, I remember John came home from the last work, took his tie off. We were having a celebratory dinner with his family at a restaurant. And I remember going, okay, neither of us have a job technically. We have a 2-month-old. Okay, we're gonna do this.
Yeah. So we took a risk. We went all in. And the other thing about that is that I gave them 3 months. And so so one of the points on that is if you're going to make a change like that, you have to honor the people that gave you a chance. So I said 3 months, because you need to fill my position, and gave them 3 months. And then at the end of those 3 months, I said, okay, it was April 1st, and I went to my first event. And I remember that feeling of being in the car, driving to Merlefest. And not once did I feel, what have I done? Instead, it was an excitement of
open road.
The adventure begins. And that I'll never forget that. That feeling, that sense of feeling. So these are all aspects of what Modern Forestry is, of what is what makes our candles Modern Forestry candles. It's the stories of the people that have put them together and send them out. So
yeah, and we do a lot of small business consultations. Every story is different, and so we're not trying to replicate what we've done, but there are key elements that are repeatable. And so yeah, but that's how we started. You don't need thousands and thousands of dollars for a startup. I remember going to John first couple weeks when I had the Etsy going, and I was like, okay, I need some more supplies. And I said, can I have $500 from our savings?
Yep.
And I will pay it back before I reinvest. And he was like, okay. So we did that. And that was the only startup money we had. Everything else we just kept dumping back in. And then praise God, it was able to support us by the time that I quit my job. So fast forward.
Well, 2 weeks out, you forget, two weeks after I gave you $500, you gave it back to me.
Gave it back to
him.
And
I said, this woman, this woman.
I don't know what's going on, but we're making candles 24/7.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was
hard work.
That was the first years of how we got started. And then now I actually don't know if it's 7 or 8 years.
Oh, it's 2014. So you're looking at 6, that's 8 years.
Anyway,
yeah,
whatever it is, fast forward, we're still in the same place. That's a whole nother podcast, making your space work when there's just not enough space. We're in the same space, and it's working. We've hired, we've seen people move on, which has been exciting. We've rehired and retrained, and now we have
7.
Yeah, including us in the studio in different part-time and full-time capacities. I mostly am home with our kids. We have 3. They're 5, 3, and 1.
They're wonderful.
So we homeschool and do that and hike. I do all of the social media. So my job, that's another podcast. How do you let go of?
Oh, that's a good podcast.
Yeah. So I used to do everything. Not that John didn't, but I was the one doing it full time. And so he would still come in after hours, and it was still always our thing. But I was physically doing everything, and letting someone have your process and entrusting that. So now I do the social media, and John does logistics and events and taxes and all of that stuff, leading the company. Those
are podcasts, but those are less fun podcasts
as
well.
Are
but
helpful,
but I would say also that and this is a great podcast, but the relationship comes before the business. So when people say, oh, well, this is her thing or his thing, you're already thinking about it incorrectly. Our relationship is the first thing, and then what we do is the second thing. And whatever we do it together. If it's my job, we do that together. If it's her job, we do that together. Finances are together. Our mindset and mission as a family is together. So I would say that's part of it too, is like I never once felt insecure that you've started it. I may have felt insecure about making candles at first, but that's the normal thing of like, well, you've done this thing, and
we have so many pictures of John that first year, suit and tie, pouring candles because we were taking shifts trying to get it all done.
Yeah, and eventually I was pouring more candles than her, and
I haven't.
And then eventually
poured a candle in a while.
And then eventually it was employees, team members helping us out, coming alongside us because quite honestly, when you're raising 3 kids, if you want to do it right, it's sacrificial. and ultimately we love working together. Working together is we're very good at it.
The
We really
podcast
enjoy
lets
it.
us work together
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, and
in a more
and as an
tangible
example
way.
of using the space that you have, this is basically a 9x10 office that doubles as my garage and triples as a music room and quadruples as a library. So use the space that you can.
Anyway, that is our story. We would love to hear yours. Connect with us on Instagram. Our handle is Modern Forestry. We would love to get to know you guys and maybe even have you on the show.
Yep, and I do consulting as well. Sarah does too, if you'd like to get her thoughts and opinions, but hers is probably going to be remote or digital. If you're looking for in-person, I'm the better go-to for that because
John does a website and taxes and hiring. I do a lot more of the social media. How do you balance family and work? But anytime that we do get to meet with small business, it is such a joy. Every story is different, and we love hearing it. And God has given us a lot of experience over the years, and so we'd love to pass that on.
And if it's Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, leave a comment at the bottom to let us know what you thought about this podcast and what you'd like to see in the future, because I'm going to be using metrics as well as your comments to determine the next piece of content we come out with.
Thanks, guys. We're so grateful for the hustle.
Tagline. Oh, it's still recording?
If you'd like to support, one surprising thing that you can do is review the podcast. It helps more than you would think in iTunes, and it's very easy to do. Head over to iTunes, go to Modern Forestry Podcast, and drop a review. You can also do it on your podcast app if you're using an Apple device. Thanks so much for listening. We're grateful for the hustle.